gonna have to start putting that music on. Got it. And we're live, just like that. And what do you know? Sawa jumped in just in time to join us live. There's Elijah. We are rocking and rolling on a Tuesday. It is Triple T, number 86. Holy smokehouse, as Grandpa used to say. On August 22nd, 2023, my name is TJ Zebel. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always have to follow up with, no, I don't know everything. I just have this unique ability to ask the right questions to help people find the solutions that they're looking for. And if I can't, I've got a great tribe to reach out to find answers that I cannot find. I also have a website, thetswb.com. Yes, the tall, skinny white boy. Yes, that's what it stands for. Really. I'm 6'4". I've had people actually ask me that while we're standing next to each other. They're like, really? That's it? I'm like, Truth in advertising. I also offer a free 30-minute consultation. That is 30 minutes of my time that I will share with you. You can ask me whatever questions, and we can see if we can find whatever solutions it is to the challenges that you have. I help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD. I work with professional athletes for performance enhancement. I do corporate coaching, among a few other things, you could say. Just a few. For those of you watching live on YouTube, hi, Mom. Yes, my mom she tunes in every week. Love her, love her, love her. Please click the subscribe button and smash the like button and ring the bell and leave comments, especially those of you watching the recordings. I love comments, good and bad. It helps keep me in check. And I think that's about all we got for the early morning or the early announcements. Let's get rolling. Any of you guys got any ahas, epiphanies, things you'd like to share from the last 7 days since we saw your smiling faces last? Ooh.
I have questions for the second hour.
Awesome. Okay, y'all saw how that worked? She's got questions written down ready for the second hour. Cool. Well, if nobody has anything they want to share from the last 7 days, we could get rolling right into it. Topics for this week for session number 86. The L word, Major League, and Living Lessons. And Elijah just tuned in. He's got questions about your questions. So it sounds like we're going to be having a whole plethora of
His favorite, dueling.
Yes, squirrels abound. And I have questions while we're doing the first hour, but I will let you know, those that know me, I can chase squirrels, and my squirrels have squirrels. So we may get off topic and go into a whole different location, and I'm fine with that as long as you're fine with that. But jumping right in, the L word. Anybody got any idea what I'm referring to? Which L word have I picked?
You usually go off the beaten track. So my first thought was love, but that was too easy because that's not very squirrely associated. So my next thought was possibly learn or lead.
Elijah said And actually, I did go the easy route, and you said it first. It is love. No way. No way. That was too easy. Yes. And the reason this came up, one of my clients who is in the wait to date protocol met somebody, both of them know currently they are not each other's match. But right now, the memories they're making, the things that they are teaching each other, the energy, the experiences, all the above are so incredible that they've been holding back, both of them admittedly, terrified to say the L word. And she reached out to me and told me this, and I said, why? Yes, you're right, Elijah. They be hypnotized in each other's energy. And I said, there are so many different kinds of love, but I'm so happy that you guys have picked the version of love that is scary to say the first time. And what is it about saying it the first time? What if it isn't matched? What if it isn't reciprocated? What if what I think it is not what they think it might be? What if yes, the V word, vulnerability. Thank you, Elijah. And yet, it was interesting and I was trying to think of his name. Um, one of my teachers in middle school talked about this and said, it's okay to say, I love you. Even you guys can say it to other guys, and it doesn't mean what you think it means right now. How many of you guys have told your dad that you love them? Sometimes we forget that it's okay. One of my best friends, Todd Johnson, who's no longer with me or with us, called me out of the blue one night. I was on my way to actually do some work at Dr. David's house. And I sat out in the parking lot for an hour talking with Todd. And the last thing we said was, love you, man. No, I love you. It's the last thing I ever said to him. He forgot to wake up one morning. Don't hold back saying it. Say it if you mean it. But don't wash it into such, you see some people that will simply use it so watered down that the meaning gets lost. So also don't say it if you don't mean it. Watch the energy inside of it. And for those of you that are trying to find your person, take the time to analyze and watch people that are in love. Watch how they communicate with each other. And then talk with people who've been married for quite a long time and ask them what they think, what their version of the word is when they use it in reference to their spouse. You might be surprised at some of the answers that you get. And I've seen some expressions of love that definitely painted the picture. One that was awesome, I used to DJ for 18 years. I was TJ the DJ, specialized in weddings and stuff. And one of the things I did during the weddings was I would have Battle of the Years, and I would play the song "Look at Us." If you want to know what love is, look at us. And I would invite all the married couples out. And as the song was playing, I was like, okay, so if you've been married 5 years or less, congratulations, you can now have a seat. And then if you've been married 10 years or less, congratulations, you have a seat. And I just kept working my way up until I got down to 2 or 3 couples. And then when the song was over, I would go up and interview them. And I would always ask the guy, so, sir, how long have the two of you been married? And of course, the guy's like, carry the one with the decimal point, then he'd say, and then he'd look at his wife to see if he got it right. But one of the coolest ones that I wish I had video of was the husband was in a wheelchair and she rolled him out and they danced the whole time and holding hands, and he would just roll his wheelchair back and forth, and they're looking at each other like they just started dating. And so I knew there was something special there, and I saved them for last. And I get up to them and I said, all right, sir, how long have the two of you lovebirds been married? And he looked up at her and gave an amazing answer. He said, not long enough. For the win. I'm like, okay, how long might that be? And he said, we've been married 62 years. Holy smokehouse, Papa. And the winner gets the bouquet from the bride, rather than tossing it and have all the bridesmaids kill each other and somebody break an ankle and somebody cry because they didn't get some beat up flowers. But I'm telling my clients now in the Wait to Date protocol, start picturing what that word means 10, 12, 20, 25 years into the relationship. Future pace it and take that back and put that into your journal of who your person is. And if you're not quite sure, gather intel, sappy movies, great relatives, and anywhere else that you can find the definitions. Elijah. That's no fun. We want the rumble. Yes, trust me, Elijah. I saw plenty of them. I saw the right up to the throwing the bouquet into the ceiling fan. Flowers for everybody. To having one of the bridesmaids get a concussion. Going for it, did the slip dive, smacked her head, hog pile from 3 or 4 or 5 other very competitive hashtag worth it. Yeah. I always did tell my wedding people, whatever you do, do not wish for a perfect wedding. Wish for a memorable one. Whether that means somebody passes out up front and safely makes it to the ground, or the wedding cake accidentally does the leaning tower of splat, because that's where the stories come from. I've thought about it. I think I've attended 3 perfect weddings in my career. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember the faces. The only thing I remember from the wedding was it was boringly perfect. Anybody got anything that they want to share on that? Yes, Lenore.
I would say when you're writing about it or when you're thinking about it and you're in the way to date protocol or you're wanting a relationship, end it with this or something better, or end it with this or something that would feel even better than this, and allow room for flexibility. Because I really think of be careful what you wish for, as in it can, somebody was like, oh, I hope I get sick this week so I can't go to work and I have to do something. And they ended up getting sick, and then they're upset that they're sick. So be careful what you wish for in that sense. So I like to leave that this or something better, because it allows for variability in the positive sense. And you don't have to solidify something so concrete that you're attached to the outcome in this way.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Awesome, because I call it the leprechaun clause, or the bad genie clause.
Well, sounds like Rumpelstiltskin or something.
Yeah, people ask for something, and I said, make sure you ask for it in a way that the leprechaun can't twist it around and make you regret asking. Yes, the genie. Anybody else got anything to add other than saying, hey, Jade, thanks for joining us. Glad to join us. Awesome. I don't know if I said hi to Linda. Hi, Linda. So, in case you're wondering what we're talking about the L word, love. And now you're going to have to go back and watch the recording to figure out what we're talking about. Yeah. So you ain't never had a friend like me. Great. Now that song stuck in my head. All right. Well, if nobody else has any, Kevin added, the problem with getting what you want is you find that you have what you once wanted. You want to add on that, Kevin?
Yeah, so the wanting is implying lack of having. And so once you have what the thing that you were wanting, you are obviously no longer wanting it because you have it now. And so that desire tends to not last past the attainment of the desired thing.
Cool.
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. See my phone. About that, I read in a book. The book is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And it says something between the lines, looking for positive experience is a negative experience itself. And yeah, I have to go pick up my kids from school. TJ, thank you for helping me with my webinar. I love you, brother.
All right, back at you, brother. Take care.
I'll see you later. See you guys later.
And there's another form of love, a parent's love, which people say is unconditional, and you have to analyze that in a way, because kids aren't always lovable. They'll always be your kids. Sometimes you can't kill them because you got a lot invested into them. But right, Mom? I know there are probably a few times that I was on the cusp of being kicked out of the family, or just testing the patience and the love connection. So there's that kind of love as well.
Elijah was chiming in with something. I didn't know what he was saying.
Hey, you said sometimes.
Sometimes.
You said sometimes you can't kill your kids. I'm pretty sure it's never. I don't think you kill people.
I don't know. There's a few people in history that I would have given permission to, but I'm sure Mrs.
No, TJ. No.
What?
No.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
This is why I like having people on here.
Thank you. Hi. This is
Hi.
the unworthy me. Yeah, no. I don't care. Hitler, Stalin, I don't care. No. You can't kill any of them.
Okay.
No.
All right. I'll leave that to the special forces guys.
Even them. I'm against it.
All right. Then we'll move on. We'll move on to something more fun.
And it's so encompassing that, you know, I'm also against them doing it in the first place, right? So it was also wrong for them. You know what I mean? I want a zero killing across the board.
Okay. That would be a wonderful utopia.
No, it wouldn't. You'd have so much pent up rage.
Moving on from the killing aspect of it, I'll also throw in there too that people pleasing and love are not the same thing as each other. People
Thank you.
You want them to love you, not when you love them.
Yes. And love with conditions is not love. I've seen a lot of that with clients coming to me that growing up, they would be loved as long as. So, well, that's not love. That's, I don't know, contract. A lot of different things you could call it. So that's why on the Way to Date protocol, I make sure that they also track and put into their journals what they don't want.
Specify.
if they grew up or if they've been in narcissistic relationships, they now know certain traits that they don't want in their person. And the reason I tell them to list that is because it makes sure that they have that focus, that channel open when they meet. Because a lot of times when you meet, oh, rose-colored glasses, and oh, well, that red flag was well, that wasn't really as big a flag, you know. I mean, maybe it was chartreuse. I don't know. I could have just caught the wrong flash. No, it was a red flag. And especially for people who have dated the same person in a different meat suit, why did they end up with the same type of person more than once?
Familiarity.
Yes. Familiarity, not testing for all of the testing, and having this amazing memory lapse of what it was like the last time, or the time before, and the time before. And so that's why I always put in there ABT, always be testing, for a number of reasons, especially when it's early on. Which I'm going to segue right into Major League, because it kind of fits now. Has anybody not seen the movie Major League with Charlie Sheen? Okay, well, this analogy, this comes straight from the movie Major League. And a couple of Triple T's back, I talked about costumes and how when dating and things like that, we have this costume that we're ready to toss on the first person we think it fits on. Whatever superhero you want. I need a Captain America. Oh, you look like you could fit. You're the right height. You're the right bit. Oh, I need a Wonder Woman. Oh, you look like you're the right height. And we toss it on. And it isn't until we start spending time with them that we start taking off pieces of the costume. And we start realizing they're not who we envisioned them to be. They can't wear the costume. Now, the reason I said Major League is the gist of this, I think the mid-'80s, somewhere back there, is this lady ends up owning a baseball team. And they're not doing so well for quite a while. And she doesn't like where they're located and finds out that if they end up last in the league, there's a clause in the Major League Baseball rules that if they end up last, she can move the team. So she gets the coaches, the head coach, to get the worst players they can find, the worst of the worst. And they do. But these guys only make it in there because at some point they had something to offer, and some of them, this is their last hurrah. They got to make it work. And so they're giving it their all, and darned if they don't start winning, which infuriates her. So she starts taking away more of the stuff that they're used to. They're not flying on planes anymore. They're going in a POS bus. They're not getting the right, and all of a sudden they figure out what's going on. So they make this life-size cardboard cutout of her, and it has all these little, that she's wearing, shall we say, a dress at the time, a business suit. But as they start pulling it off, it reveals more skin. That was one of their motivations, to find out what the final picture was. No, she was not naked. But it was a good picture of her, much better than in the business outfit. And that's where thinking about how, while we're spending time with our person, and these parts of the costume that we put on them starts coming off in little pieces, what are we ending up with? Is it something better? Or is it a realization that we were the ones that put them into the costume? Some people show up and, of course, they want to put on their best face, their best show. I'm all of that, and they're hiding all of their flaws as much as possible. That's one thing. If they were being everything that, if they weren't hiding anything, but you are the one that put the costume on them, that's more on you. That's why it's always be testing. Learn how to test properly. Learn how to have proper conversations, and be ready when they show you that they're a 9 or a 10 to accept they're a 9 or a 10 and not a king. Just like how we started with the L word. Those two are absolute, straight up honest with each other. And if it weren't for a few minor things, they would have found their match. But they're honest enough to know that those few things aren't actually that minor. And they love and respect each other enough to not expect the other person to give up their values and criteria. Any comments, epiphanies, ahas on that?
I think also it's entirely possible for your own costume to change over the course of your relationship. And as you change your costume, as you change your mask, as you evolve, you will also show or reveal some vulnerabilities about another person's costume that you did not intentionally reveal, or their costume will shift as a result of your costume shift. And it's very much, and I wish I would have understood this more, because I don't think our culture really shares this. You grow up, you go to school, you get a job, and boom, you'll live happily ever after. It's an evolution. and to keep growing. And as you keep growing, things around you will continue to change. The people around you, your friends, your family, perspectives will change. And I did not understand that when I was younger. And I really did not understand that when I would hear people talk about it, that said, when you start to do your inside work, your external world would change. I had no understanding of that. So I think going in, understanding that it will be an evolution of yourself. And I think that's something that it should be a manual that you will evolve throughout your life. Stop expecting these people to all be there in these years, and understand that that's okay, and that you can still take care of you, and that you're still lovable, that you are still loved, that you are still protected, even in your most vulnerable states as you continue to evolve. Because when the relationship that I entered at 23 is not the relationship, thankfully, that I'm in at the age of 38. That is a really, really good thing. I was not thinking it would evolve. I had no idea that it would evolve. Not a freaking clue. So if you go in understanding that you will go together, and I love the analogy of the boats, where there are times where you two go apart and you come back together, and you go apart and you come back together, and it happens very naturally, and it can feel very unnatural. But what is your intention? How do you want to evolve with each other? Do you care enough to continue to move and navigate and paddle and keep going? Those are my thoughts about that as we continue to change masks and costumes.
Absolutely. That goes right along again with always be testing. Because if you're not testing, especially if you don't understand the concept that people are not static, they are constantly growing, changing. And even if they're not growing and changing, you better not be growing and changing yourself then. And just because you find yourself on two different tributaries doesn't mean that you've failed or that you have to be enemies. I've got a number of people who at one point just woke up, and looking at their partner going, wow, I don't know who you are anymore. Or you refuse to grow and I'm way over here now. And they've managed to be best friends, even though they're not still in the relationship. And I've told people, just because you've moved on doesn't mean that you have to absolutely expel them from your life. You got together for a reason. If they didn't intentionally hurt you or do malicious, nasty things, and all you did was grow apart into two different people, you can still be friends. Which sometimes I think takes more, I don't even know what word it is, to do that than to just be angry and blame them that it didn't work. So, by the way, Elijah, that mask was epic.
That is my steampunk kitty mask. I am full of surprises.
I love that it has a name.
I mean, it's just what it is. It's a kitty mask, and it's kind of steampunk themed.
I love
It's not very it's not a very imaginative name. I didn't call it like Oscar or something.
Anybody got anything else to add to that before we move on to the next topic?
Got something I'll throw in there. Just as we were talking about this, something that keeps coming to my mind just with the analogy too is that sometimes you see something, and I'm thinking a dress, but it could be anything, and you see it on the rack and you think it's going to look one way, and then you try it on and it looks completely different, or it feels good in the store, and then you're actually out in the world being practical and you realize you can't sit down, or like all sorts, or yes, this is just really hard to wash, whatever the case may be. I think too, a lot of times the masks that we wear, we don't even know what mask we really want. And so sometimes we have to give ourselves and the people around us a chance to explore and try different ones until they find what actually fits.
I am so glad you brought that up. I am so glad you brought that up, because one of my clients just today mentioned that she's I think on month 8 of her weight to date protocol, and she said she has changed so much with the work that we're doing that she's evolving to a point where she now realized how much she needed to love herself first. But now she's in that interesting quandary of trying to figure out who she wants to be, because she realizes she doesn't have to be the person that she's been. Her youngest just went off to college. She's an empty nester. And she's realizing she gets to write a brand new chapter. She's also realizing what it actually feels like to be in her feminine energy. And she used to be loud and boisterous and had zero problem getting in somebody's face, especially if they torqued her off. And finds herself now recently just getting what it means to sit back and be quiet and listen and observe and not overshare. And all of these things that are so unlike who she used to be. And she's also getting new downloads of who her king is. And it's what I told her, it's 365 days of research and experimentation and learning and growing and changing, so that when you get the chance to be with your person, you get to be the best version that you've been up to this point. But you look at the progress and the trip that you went through to get to that point. And sometimes you realize that you're just getting started. And your person needs to know that, hey, you wouldn't have dated me a year ago because I wouldn't have dated me a year ago. I am nobody that near who I was there, but I've got momentum going and I'm not sure who I'm becoming. Would you like to come with me and help me find out? Kind of goes back to the L word, huh? What does that mean now? Giving space for your partner to grow into their potential and keeping your ego and your fears intact enough to be able to go along with the ride. Reha. Yes.
So circa 2012, I came across Dr. David Snyder's stuff, and he had made it sound so magical and so rapid and so in the blink of an eye and almost like too good to be true. And so I followed along his videos and I did all this self work. And it wasn't until I started working with other people that things really started to move. And I would say to anyone who is still feeling stuck, and please don't misunderstand, there are times where I still feel stuck. But when I work with other people, when I have conversations, when you are around growth-minded people, the evolution of yourself transforms so quickly. And one of the things that I know TJ is very adamant about is recording sessions and recording the work that you're doing. And it is work, and it sometimes feels like just a conversation, but it's not just a conversation about weather. It is completely powerful and transformative work. And I know, Elijah, you don't like to go back and watch videos, and the most amazing shifts have happened in my life, and that I can actually see them because of video. And it's not like I can look back at journals and I will roll my eyes, and I will look back at videos and I am so happy that I don't think that way anymore, that I don't feel that way. And I remember feeling freaking awful in a majority of those conversations that I've had. But because people in this group, because you all know so much and you're so willing to have these open, vulnerable conversations, and you're willing to listen to people. And it's not listen in a complaint. It's a listen going, this is a clusterfuck. Please help me. And because of that, it is incredibly powerful to work with somebody. So when you're doing NLP or when you're doing these drills and getting the skills and you're hearing all these catchphrases, know that it is completely worth it. And please record yourself for no other purpose other than you have a video log of where you've been.
Hey, couldn't have said it better myself. It sounded much better coming from you. Thank you for sharing that and being so vulnerable. Yes, Elijah said it too. God bless you for being willing to go there and show vulnerability here. Thank you. It was wonderful. It was. I've been blessed to watch and work and hold people in their most vulnerable times. But I've also been blessed to watch people grow exponentially and to be able to overcome less than positive programming. And I've gotten in trenches and fought for them and with them and wanting the best and sometimes questioning myself, do I want it more than they do? But when they come out the other side, changed for the better, it's why I do it. It's why I do it. And what a perfect segue for living lessons. Because this was another aha download today, because one of my protocols in saving the lessons is we actually create a lesson box within ourselves so that our conscious and our subconscious recognize and realize that there's a place within us that all the lessons that we paid for so dearly are safely rescued, cleaned up, and stored away where nobody can mess with them. But the download today was, these are not pages torn out of a book. These are not words written on a Post-it note stuffed into a box. These are living things inside of our lesson box. They are living, growing, intermingling with each other. And the more lessons we put in there, the more energy they have to work with. And our lessons from conception forward are still living and growing and multiplying. And that's why sometimes we can hear the same thing 12 times. And you guys have heard me say it before. What are the 3 most dangerous words when learning something? I know that. You do, but you've grown, you've lived since the last time you heard it. You've put new lessons in the box, and they're living and growing. And this time when you hear it, there are new things that mesh with it, and you get a new epiphany. Wow, I've heard that 18 times. And this time, it means something entirely different. Because if you know baking or chemistry or whatever, sometimes adding one little ingredient can completely change the outcome, the product, right? Yeah. And even though we've had this recipe for how long? Oh, here we go again. I've heard this, I've made this, da 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 da, but we didn't realize that somewhere along the line, we added one little lesson, we added one little ingredient along the line. And this time when it meshes with all that stuff that we've added, brand new chemistry happens. And we see things entirely different. So I wanted to share with you guys and let you know, lessons are not static. They're not, again, something that you wrote down in a notebook or a journal. In fact, I challenge all of you, if you've got notebooks, journals, even if you find some old notebooks, workbooks, or something from high school. Pull them out sometime and just look through them. There will be things, I promise you, that you'll see in an entirely different light. I know, because I just did it last week. And you're not the same person. You never will be. And so if you've got a brand new person looking at what a different person wrote down, there's always a chance for new interpretations, new ahas, new epiphanies, new holy smokehouse. And sometimes new topics to share with people so that hopefully one of my ingredients gets in there and reacts with your recipe and you guys get a holy smokehouse. You guys are going to hear that in your dreams tonight. Holy smokehouse. And that brings us to the top of the hour. Anybody got anything you want to share about the three topics or the combination of the three? Before we move on, Lenora, we're going to hold her to the fact that she's got questions for the second hour. So, well, then I guess
As long as my burp stops.
Huh?
As long as my burping apparently stops.
No, some of us understand what that's about. And is it okay if I give the explanation disclaimer? Everybody processes things differently. Some people laugh, some people cry, some people sweat profusely, some people burp. I had one person that farted. That was interesting. But and I've got one client that yawns monstrously. It doesn't matter how much rest they've gotten. When they start processing, they literally could swallow a Volkswagen. I thought for sure they were going to dislocate their jaw a couple of times, but that is how their body handles processing. I got another one, their eyes water. It literally looks like they are bawling. And they'll just be talking and stuff, I'm like, good. That's what I want to see. I want to see that your conscious and subconscious, Elijah, yawner, yeah. And I've had people apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no. When we understand that it's processing, that's exactly what I want to see. Complexion changes, yes. Oh, and now I got to Holly. That was not a suggestion, Holly, but it's probably just you're processing something that you needed to hear from the other topics. That's a better suggestion, right?
Thanks.
So we're at the top of the hour. Lenora said she's got some questions for the panel. And for those of you that are joining for the first time or watching the recording for the first time, the way I run these is the second hour is open topic, open panel, open mic, and anybody on the call gets to ask a question or bring up a topic. And I sit back and let the rest of the people on the call answer first because I like to learn too. And I am not the expert. If I have something to add, I will add it last. So, what do you got for us, Lenore?
So I am a part of a lovely group of people that I keep having one-on-ones with people and people that I've never met before. And it's not quite networking, it's learning about each other. And you're already coming into the fact that you're both a part of a group and you're both on a growth mindset and wanting to be of service to people. And so one of the people that I was communicating with today asked two beautiful questions, and I was completely blown away by them, that I wrote them down. The first one is, what's the most important thing about you that you want me to know? The second was, what's the biggest challenge that you're facing right now? And whether we share them openly or not, I just thought they were really incredibly powerful questions that really, they're questions that we would ask in this group. And I just was really taken back in such a wonderful way that this person had asked me this question. And then there was another one of when you're in a professional communication group and you're sharing what you do and you're sharing even when you go to conferences or when we're in this group and you are asking people for help, and what's your ask? How can I help you? What are some of the things that you say? What are some of the things that you ask? Those were my questions.
Okay, as promised, you guys are up. You answer first.
I'll jump in for a second. I think with a lot of those questions, a huge part of it first is just going to be making sure that you've established enough rapport to be that vulnerable and to let them be that vulnerable. And sometimes the secret can first, I mean, I know this is not the specific answer, but also being willing in vulnerability to go first. And so one of the things they've said is, if you want other people to like you, I mean, obviously you've got echo technique, 3 magic questions. We've got a lot of these things going on. But if you allow someone to do something for you, that can make them, as long as it's not onerous, as long as it's maybe something on the smaller side to start, that could be one of the best ways to, first of all, make sure you're not creating like a bread of shame situation, to let them know, yes, you're needed, and I'm not just expecting this to be about you telling me how I can help you. And I think that once you've had that kind of a thing where you've established this is reciprocal, it can make a lot of that a lot more powerful. So.
Well said, Holly.
Who else has something?
What was the question? I heard like 3 questions.
There were 3 questions. Especially I know when you do your weekend groups, the first question was, what is the most important thing about you that you want me to know? Second question was, what's the biggest challenge that you're facing right now? And the third question would be, how can I help you? What's your ask? When people say, oh, what can I help you with? You as Elijah or you as whomever, in a professional way.
The first one really depends who's asking. If you're asking me right now, what's the most important thing I want you to know about me? I am a highly emotional being. Right? I can fly off the handle. Highly emotional,
intelligent.
Right? I can really fly off the handle sometimes. Right? I do try to practice what I preach, but I'm only human. You know? So that's one. I'm sorry, my memory's gone. I'll jump into the third one. What am I challenged with at the moment? Getting out my own way a little bit. I think I'm in my own way to achieving some of the things I've set out to do. And you know, it's a lesson that, you know, we will all learn over time. I'm hoping sooner you know, to kind of let go a little bit and go easy on myself a little bit. Don't put too much pressure and kind of get out my own way and allow things to happen, you know. How can you help me? I don't know yet. Is the honest answer. I don't know yet. But you know, the chats we've had and the back and forth we've had and that, it's been very helpful so far. So keep at it. You know, I can give you that much. Those would be
Love
my
all
honest
of that.
answers. But it will, like, that will completely change depending on, like, if someone else asks me the question, obviously I will answer differently. So that's just me talking to you, right?
Completely. And I love all that you shared. So thank you for that. And I feel like because you and I have a deeper rapport, deeper connection, completely different answers, which I'm following you completely about. And these are with people that I haven't known for over a year and that I haven't
so I
spent time with.
More reluctant to say, like, I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, I want to get out my own way if I don't know the person too well. You know what I mean? I would say something like more general, like, oh, I want better discipline. Or, you know what I mean? So it's you could drill down into it, right? But it's more general if I don't know the person, if I don't have that, you know, you give a little, you get a little. You give a little, you get a little. That's how the rapport thing works, right? And so, you know, if I don't have too much, then I can only give you so much. Right?
Love that.
Because there is a part of me that is always testing as well. Right? And so I am cautious sometimes. Being as much of a wordsmith and a linguist and you know, thinking about things the way I do and teaching the stuff and going through the stuff that I do a lot, you know, many hours every day, I don't really know how to turn it off, you know. And so I'm always a little bit wary, you know, if somebody's asking more questions than they are sharing about themselves. Whereas if I want someone to share about themselves, I would first share about myself, and then I would ask them to share about themselves. That would be my strategy, right? So if someone is, you know, like, if it feels like an interrogation or something, then I'm much more reluctant. Yeah. So that's kind of how I sit with that kind of stuff.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? I like how Jade's got that, the only one on camera.
These are hard questions. I like need them written down in front of me so I can really contemplate the answer.
I'm curious as to when you look at it that way, what do you think it is about it that makes it hard, makes them hard questions?
Well, first off, with the first question, what would I want you or a person to know about me? That seems like a really tough question. I don't know exactly why. I tend to be an open book with people who talk to me. I tend to answer whatever questions I'm asked.
Except that one.
But with that specifically, it's like, well, yeah, what would I want you to know about me? Do I want you to know something about me? Because it kind of, you know, implies like, well, what's important? And I don't know what is necessarily important for you to know about me. I know a lot of different things about myself that I could share, but I don't know what would be important, you know, for you to know specifically about me. And what I would want you to know is whatever you want to know, I guess.
Can I put in 3 words that help people with that. Know your outcome. What is it you want out of the conversation? As soon as you understand that, it makes it a lot easier to pick which information you want to share. If you're just looking to play the game, you can give something uber generic. If you're trying to build rapport with somebody, you can try to pick something that you know you have in common. If you're trying to teach a lesson to the person or have a directive, then you can pick other information. Like if, if you're in a business building deal and somebody asks that, what do we want to know about you? Then you pick what kind of work you do. Kind of like a self-advertisement. So know your outcome helps with a lot of those stumbling, thick, what am I going to do? When we teach classes, like when Dr. David would have people do 3x3 protocol, and we were working on certain exercises, and I'd watch people and they would just be stumbling with the exercise. First thing I would ask them or tell them, know your outcome. Figure out a story. Figure out some type of a scenario so you have an outcome to go towards. It's hard to get your GPS to give you a destination if you don't have a destination, or you can't get a route from your GPS if you don't give it a destination. As soon as you give it a destination, now it can give you 12, 15 different ways to get there. Lenora?
That used to be really hard for me when, especially, I would hear David Snyder say it on his videos. And when I started to talk to James C. too, he was like, what's your outcome? And I felt it very abrasively. Why do I have to be getting something from this? And he was trying to say, what do you want from this interaction? And when I go into professional interactions, just like I think when I start my day, what do I want from my day? I want to co-create a beautiful day. I want to see lots of people laughing. I want to see everybody smiling and feeling really, really good. That's the outcome that I want. So I actually had to change the word to, what's your intention? What do you want? What are you intending to happen today? So especially in the conversations that I am in, they're often professional conversations, but they're also people who want to be of service, and we're working to connect people with other people. So I don't want to say it's like a networking group, because it's not like, how's the weather? Here's the bank. It's truly people who can help you with your mission, whatever you feel like that mission may be, or whatever you're working to do, whether it's work together with more clients, or to go on a retreat, or to get on a podcast, whatever the case may be. So in those situations, that's where people keep going, what do you need right now? What are you asking for? And I'm almost like, it feels very strange to me. And I don't know how to quite answer the question, because I'm going in with my outcome of, I want to learn about this person. I want them to know this about me, to really understand the work that I do. What are you asking for? Feels a little like Santa Claus. So I'm still navigating through how to answer this question beyond, if you know somebody who you think would be a great fit to work with me, please feel free to share my information. And that's how I've been navigating that question. Any insight, completely, oh, bye. Night, Linda, feel better. If anybody's got insight on this, that'd be great. Because I don't like the Santa Claus feel to it.
Holly's got her hand up.
Some things that are coming to my mind as we're going through this. it's a similar principle, it's a slightly different thing, but the most powerful thing you can know about someone is to know their why. The worst possible way to get someone's why is to ask them why. If you want to know someone's why, you have to ask what questions. And I think we're in a kind of similar situation with these questions. It's not that the answers aren't there. It's that, first of all, they're making us feel very self-conscious, especially if you're someone who likes to be a giver. You know, the idea is, what do you want me to know about you? You know, like I'm putting you in the center of attention. I'm making it feel kind of almost selfish. So if you could find a way to, and I'm trying to think of exactly how to word it, you know, but if you could find a way to reword the questions for yourself so that they make better sense. I think step one is just rewording the questions so you're not asking, and I know the word what is in there, but it feels like I'm asking your why. And if you could change it to asking a what, it will feel a bit better. So for instance, you know, instead of what would you like me to know about you, you could even just think, what can I tell this person that's going to build rapport? You know, and if you could change it around to, you know, 3 magic questions or echo talk, you know, you might be able to get out of, because what people are on autopilot, they're just asking what they were told to ask, probably for the most part. I mean, they're great questions, but I think they need to be reworded to get real answers, if that makes sense.
Awesome insights. Thank you, Holly.
Also wanted to throw in there, don't overcomplicate the intention or outcome. Sometimes the outcome can be as simple as making somebody feel better than they did when you met them, making their day better than when you met them. You know, yesterday I was at Sam's Club, and you've always got these salespeople, and they're on top of being in a store, and they want to know about, you know, do you know who your electrical provider is, or who's, you know, they're working for AT&T or they're working for something else. And I like challenging them and working with them and teaching them better approaches. And I said, know your why. Why are you asking them? Is it because you want to get your numbers up? Or is it because you want to help them? Find a better why. It'll make it a lot. And I showed them how easy it is for me to spark up conversation. I can start a conversation with pretty much anybody, anywhere, at any time. But I've made some of my why sometimes so generic that I'm genuinely interested in them, if for no other reason than to give them a reason to smile so I can move on. Just like with giving compliments. If you know why you're giving a compliment, it's a lot easier to give a compliment. And sometimes the reason is just to make somebody's day a little bit better than it was before you saw them or met them. So back to, don't overcomplicate the know your why or your outcome. Just try to find one, because it makes it so much easier to figure out the words that you want to say, the answers you want to give, the reasons you want to do something. Does that make sense?
I know something I want you to know about me. Do you want to know it?
Is that?
Oh, actually, okay. I'm always practicing.
Quantifiers.
What?
Quantifiers.
Yeah, okay.
You quantified it.
I'm almost always practicing.
Do you know, from one time you had mentioned quantifiers, and it's burned into my brain, and
Wait,
I hear
wait,
them all the
wait.
time.
Did you just use a quantifier?
I
One
did, and I hear them all the time. You said
all
it
the
one
time you hear
time.
quantifiers?
One
All the
time.
time you hear every quantifier?
And I think we were just in like a regular conversation, and you're like, always? That's a quantifier. And I'm like, ever since.
Yeah. I did a couple classes on universal quantifiers and existential quantifiers and unique specifiers. And they are very,
That's
very,
not
very powerful. Especially when you start mixing them up. If I ask a question like, well, I can't do it just on the fly. I mean, I can do it on the fly, but there has to be a situation. If I say anything less than not just using quantifiers, wouldn't be completely right, would it? You see how I kind of go from anything less than using just. So there's like so many different quantifiers. There's like universal, then there's just, which is specific, and then wouldn't. So you've got the not in there, right? And then there's completely, which again is universal, right? So it kind of spins your brain when you start mixing them up like that. It's like if you say after you continue to begin.
The linguist ninja.
Anyway, the thing I wanted you to know about me is that I'm almost always practicing. I derive massive pleasure from practicing hypnosis and practicing suggestion and seeing how I can phrase things and how can I evoke states, or how can I change someone's state, or how could it, you know what I mean? So I get massive pleasure from practicing that stuff, and so I'm almost always doing it. I would like to say always, but Lenora pulled me up on that. I'm never not doing it.
Well, as long as you're going to be speaking, why not keep practicing to speak the best way possible?
I love speaking. I actually enjoy public speaking. Most people are afraid of it. I actually love speaking in front of people. I love that moment when I realize, or when I notice that people are going like this. And they're really kind of fixated, and they're leaning in a little bit and they're listening intently. I love it. Great moment. So I'm like, yeah, I got him. Very pleasurable.
And Holly's putting some good stuff in the chat. Should be putting them out here so that those watching on YouTube can hear them as well.
I guess I'll jump in. Without saying specifically what I put in the chat, it's basically the same thing, but I'm just thinking, what are ways that you can make your answers disguised forms of the 3 magic questions? And so I was going with level 2 questions. So basically, oh, what can I do to help you? You could say, well, as an example, I'll read this one. I'm fascinated by what drives people, and I'm gathering research on that. So the way you could help me is, can you tell me about one of your passions so I can gather more data from my research about what drives people?
That's why practicing the trifecta, Echo Talk, 3 magic questions, values, and criteria is something that I constantly push my students towards. Practice.
What's important about that, TJ? What's important about practicing the trifecta?
The importance about that is so that when the time comes, it's how you speak. It's not something you do.
Right. And what's so important about how you speak? When you speak that way, that's not something you're doing.
It's communication. And communication is how things are shared.
Right. And ultimately, what is it that you really like about sharing?
Watching how a conversation evolves when people start getting involved in conversations and wanting to progress it further. Just
right.
like
So progressing the evolution of the involvement is what's important about communication when you're able to share.
That is a good thing. What's it like for you? What's your favorite part about communication?
I like. Oh, are we giving away some of my secrets? I like that I can get in touch with that part that they're not paying attention to.
Exactly.
I like connecting with that, the unconscious part. Because you see, if you look at an atom, right? Proton, neutron, nucleus, and electrons, kind of, let's use the simple model instead of the energy levels. Let's just have them floating around the edge. By scale, if you look at it by scale, the distance between the nucleus and the electron is like the distance between the Earth and the sun. By scale.
Scale.
Right? And so most of everything that makes up everything is space. And
As
so
above,
what
so
would
below.
happen if you were to pay attention to the space? Let's say that I begin to speak. And as I speak, you pay attention to the space between my words. Noticing those silent moments. That's right, Fran. In between what's being said. And how easy is it for you to really understand moments of silence? Much more than the content and the noise that surrounds them. It's profound, isn't it? And so most people, because they think the space is, quote, empty, and the space between my words are not the part they're paying attention to, they're paying attention to the words. I really like and enjoy in communication, to answer your question, TJ, to get in touch with that is the in-between, that is the part that they're not paying attention to, but it's actually the greater part in terms of just how much there is. There's more silence in what I said just now than there was words. You can go back and time it on the replay if you like.
I was just gonna say, for those of you that are watching live, this is being recorded and will be available on YouTube so that you can rewind this part 3 or 4 times and get the full potential of what he's saying and the things that he's not saying inside of the silence between the words.
And I don't have to say them for you to understand them.
Exactly.
And even though you don't know what it is I'm going to say next, and I might, but even though you don't, that won't prevent you from stopping yourself from not understanding it when you eventually hear it, will it?
And there you have it. Know your outcome.
What was my outcome just now? To do a demo, to show off a little bit, to do, to enjoy myself for a few moments. That's what it was. That's what I did. Bit of fun,
Yes. And that's why I say, for those that are watching live, Mom, love you.
And I get wiped out in the process. Thanks, Elijah.
Oh, did you know that fractionation works both ways, Fran? So not only do you go deeper every time you get wiped out, but you feel more awake every time you come back.
It compounds on itself when you have rapport. Like you and Fran have very deep rapport.
Fran and I have done many hypnotic sessions together, and we have pulled each other out of some pretty serious shit. And there is a very if anyone's interested, with Fran's permission, we could share it maybe. There is a very good video of a time when a hurricane was approaching where Fran lives, and she was in a panic kind of, oh my God, what the hell? My house is going to get blown apart state. And I helped her through it. And it is a fantastic video, fantastic demonstration of coaching and hypnosis and that. And Fran, if you're willing, I will happily share that with people here.
Absolutely. That was the one that came to mind for me, the most dramatic one that's been videoed. Thank you. Good. And thank you for doing that. You got me through that really terrifying experience.
I did show it once in my class, and I did running commentary. I was showing the video and I was pausing. I'm like, okay, at this point, this is what I'm thinking. Okay, at this point, this is what I'm thinking. And at one point I was like, okay, at this point, I'm actually shitting myself, right? Because I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to help her. But then at some point, we keep going and we keep going. And that's the thing, guys. Listen, when it doesn't work, if it doesn't work, please, I'm going to look at the camera. Please do not confuse failure with temporary defeat. Okay? Do not. You just keep going and you keep going and you have a good intention and you keep going and you will get it. You will get it. The only way it doesn't work is if you stop.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen.
And that takes, a little bit of grounding. It takes a little bit of experience, but, it feels oh so good when you get it.
Yep.
Right?
I think all of us agents of change have been there where you want to help them so bad and you don't know which tool is going to be the right one, and you try this and try that and you try this and you try that, and you can see them still stuck in the darkness, and then all of a sudden, bing, the light comes on, and it's like
something so simple.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, this is why I do this. Yay!
Yeah, love practicing, guys. Derive pleasure from putting in effort. It will help regulate your dopamine levels.
Very much.
Seriously, on a much deeper scientific level, instead of deriving pleasure from achieving the goal, derive your pleasure from exerting effort, and it will regulate your dopamine levels and make you a much healthier person and well balanced. This is also, if I may have a little rant, sorry. This is also my kind of problem with the whole try thing. So, everybody try implies failure. I hate that. I really do. Try does and can imply failure sometimes. Yes, I agree. Right? But effort counts. Okay? And repeated effort over and over counts. So please don't confuse that and say like, oh, I'm not going to try because trying means I'm going to fail. I'm going to, don't get caught in the semantics of it. Okay. Effort counts. It really, really does.
Bless you for saying that, Elijah. All my school days were tries hard and, results pretty mediocre, but I tried. And actually having that acknowledged, that's huge for me. Thank you.
Yeah, effort counts, dude. It really does.
Also understand that who you're becoming and the lessons that you're getting from the effort, from the trying, from all of that is what adds ingredients to that final product, that aha moment.
And the resilience to just keep going anyway, because it's when you stop keeping going that things fall in a heap. It's not the keeping going and not getting that breakthrough that you want. It's
Yep.
just the keeping going and not giving up, because that will get you through eventually.
So, if I may, there's a lovely metaphor, and I'd like to use this sometimes in one of my hypnotic patterns as well. But it's like planting a seed or a plant you want to grow, right? Okay. And then you plant it and you cover it with soil and you water it, you put your fertilizer, whatever, right? You don't then go back the next day to dig it up to see how much it's grown, because that would disturb it, right? So, even though you can't see the growth, it's happening below the surface. Growth is happening below the surface. And the most fundamental growth, the most significant growth, is that part that you will never see. But it will grow and manifest into something wonderful, like a seed can become a flower, right? Yeah.
And further to that, further
ahead.
to that is meeting a no when you're trying or giving something a go or trying something new is not no forever. It means just no, not at this moment. And that is also planting a seed. Once you put it out there in the world, this idea, even if it's no now, it may not be no next week, next year, next 2 years, next 5 years. You've planted the seed, and like Elijah was saying, it's germinating and growing and doing all these wonderful things underground where you don't even know anything's going on.
And sometimes you have to understand what the seed is. Like the story of the Chinese farmer that was growing a certain type of bamboo, and he planted it and knew that it would take almost 6 years, but couldn't explain that to anybody else. And they ridiculed him for going up and watering the field every day for 6 years with nothing showing. Not even a tiny sprout. And then all of a sudden, like almost overnight, boom! And the harvest was such that he could harvest without work every day from then on. But he had to put the work in first.
What did David say? It took me 10 years to become an overnight success.
Yes. Yep. You got to just understand the vision, know your outcome, or we heard that before. Know your outcome. Why are you doing it?
And it's like what the wonderful golfing story, I can't remember which famous golfer, but was asked, goodness, you're so lucky. And he responded by saying, yeah, it's fantastic. I'm so lucky. And the harder I practice, the luckier I get. So
Yeah, what a concept. And I heard one definition of luck was labor under correct knowledge. If you put in enough labor under correct knowledge, luck just seems to happen to show up. Like you're lucky or something.
It's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you create luck, You create luck by taking chances.
and expecting good results.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the laws of the mind, David teaches. What the mind expects tends to be realized.
And enough studies have been done to show that the vast majority of lucky people are only lucky because they identify as being lucky. Nothing else about them stands out other than the fact that they, in their mind, know that they are lucky.
And they notice the lucky things.
Yes.
They train themselves to notice the lucky things.
Yes, and they label it as such. This showed up because I'm so lucky. And the luckier I get, the more luckier I am.
Did you guys ever watch that Darren Brown special with the lucky dog? That thing's so good. He goes into a little village and he spreads a rumor that a statue of a dog in the park in the village is lucky, and it ends up becoming a lucky dog. It's crazy. It's so good, dude. You have to watch it. It's so good.
You mean you can program people to believe that they're lucky if you
But
give
they
them...
were lucky. That's the thing.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
Right? Yeah. Funny that, isn't it? Right? Yeah. It's really good. Oh, Jade's seen it. Yeah, it's very good. It is.
All right, kids.
I like Darren Brown. He's one of my heroes. He's very much at a level that I want to reach. You know, no blips on the radar. You don't see it coming until it's too late. Oh, there you go. Ali.
I don't think that works probably in the UK, but it does work in the US.
I have a copy of it. I could probably upload it somewhere for you guys to see. If you guys all have like Gmail accounts, I can share like untold amounts of content with you from many, many people who probably don't want their content shared.
And now it's on YouTube.
That's okay.
Right.
I said I can. I didn't say I would.
Yeah, right.
Right. I call on the power of anonymous, whoever you are, wherever you are. You know, long live the promise of the internet and free sharing of information.
Exactly.
Right. If I bought a book, physical copy, I could lend it to you, could I not? So what's the difference me emailing you a PDF?
All right, we got 18 minutes left. Who's got something else for us? Come on.
Look, Lenore's back in time for another question.
I had to gather myself. You guys had me a little emotional. I love the quotes and I wrote down the timestamps. Which one do you want to go with?
Yes.
The fourth one.
The fourth one. How do you know there's not three?
You just cycle back to the top.
What has being resilient taught you? What have you learned most?
The reward at the end of being resilient is far greater than if it was much easier to achieve. The satisfaction, the learning.
Elijah, are you looking at us or are you looking at something else? I love what you said.
I'm looking for some verbiage.
Some verbiage. Especially when I had said earlier, Fran, about recording yourself, and I love that you had recorded that session with you and Elijah, and I've never seen the session, and I imagine it's phenomenal between the two of you because you both are able to go to those spaces and keep each other safe and keep moving. And I love that it's recorded because I had mentioned earlier that I think it's phenomenal that TJ encourages people to record their sessions because they capture so much more than what journaling could ever capture after the fact of working with somebody. And you know, I was looking back at a recording from a couple of weeks ago, and I love what you guys had shared about effort and to keep putting in the effort, and that it doesn't mean, I love what Elijah put, that it said, do not confuse failure with temporary defeat. And effort and repeated effort counts. Thank you guys for sharing that. Sometimes it gets very difficult to remember.
And with that recording, that Elijah's talking about, he worked hard for that breakthrough, didn't you, Elijah? It was real blood, sweat, and tears that you put in. Thank you.
and no disrespect to anyone, because everyone there was fantastic and very supportive, and I want to acknowledge that. But sometimes when some of the other people were chiming in mid-session, it was like throwing you out of the process, and then I had to sort of restart again. And yeah, I did work that day.
You
Was
worked
it-
hard, and it got the job done. And I'm so grateful that sometimes the step backs actually made it a better resolution in the end, even though it was so frustrating mid-session having to go back to the beginning. It gave it a stronger impact in the end. Thank you.
Would you have considered those state breaks, Fran?
I would consider them kind of breakdowns before the breakthrough. It was so frustrating at the time, and it did throw me out of the train of progressions that were being made. So when the breakthrough came, it was such a relief. It was a bigger relief than it would have been if it was an easier won battle. It had more impact in the end. And I could feel my own inner resistance and fears just sort of giving up in the end. And well done, Elijah. I don't know what I'd have done without you then. Thank you.
Thank you for trusting me. On the topic of resilience, there's a book called Secret of the Ages by Robert Collier, and this is a thing I put in the chat, is a quote from there. He talks about the germ of life, and how it forever has this desire, this if you like, this what was the word we used already? Determination. What's the word? Resilience. Yeah, to survive and to thrive, right? So it says, for millions of years, I'm going to just read this from the chat. For millions of years, this life germ was threatened by every kind of danger, from floods to earthquakes to droughts, from desert heat, from glacial cold, from volcanic eruptions. But to each new danger, it was merely an incentive of finding a new resource, to putting forth life in some new shape. To meet one set of needs, it formed the dinosaur. To meet another, the butterfly. Long before it works up to man, we see its unlimited resourcefulness shown in thousands of ways. To escape the danger of the water, it sought the land. Pursued on land, it took to the air. To breathe in the sea, it developed gills. Stranded on land, it perfected lungs. To meet one kind of danger, it grew a shell. For another, a sting. To protect itself from glacial cold, it grew fur. In temperate climates, hair, subject to alternate heat and cold, produced feathers. But ever from the beginning, it showed its power to meet every changing condition, answer every creature need. And that's what it is. It's that drive within to survive and to thrive and to continue and to move on. That's what resilience means to me. I kind of read it wrong as well.
You read
it a few times, but Robert Collier, Secret of the Ages, check it out. Good book.
You reminded me that I'm watching a series of horse training videos. I don't know why, but they're fascinating because the theme is all about resilience and welcoming the breakdowns and the tantrums of the horses and the horses protecting themselves and behaving badly, because the more they react and become distressed, the bigger the breakthrough when they realize that the trainer's resilience and gentleness and steadiness wins through. So, just seeing that resilience, patience, not taking it personally, just getting on with it and doing it again and again and again until the horse understands it's not under threat. And this is what the trainer wants them to do. And you can see the physical change in the horse. Its whole body relaxes, the ears change, the head changes, the eyes change, the expression changes, the softness in the body. And this is what we're doing as hypnotists, just not giving up and just keeping at it until we get our breakthrough. And sometimes the resistance can be a really good thing, because the breakthrough you get at the end of it is even more powerful. That's, my follow-on from Elijah's helping me.
Yeah, sometimes there's like that resistance where you can feel a build. I don't know if it's like, how to describe it. It's like a building of tension, almost like two metronomes are going and they're waiting to see which one is going to follow the other. Right. But if you are, again, coming back to, my first hypnosis teacher, David Snyder, whoever holds the frame the strongest and the longest will end up absorbing the other person into their frame, right? And so that becomes a thing. Learning to hold your frame, learning to hold your state, when things are like, because we have again, going back to that example, we have very strong rapport, Fran, because I've known you for quite a while at that time, by the time we did that session. And when you got upset and started panicking and going really worried, like I could feel your fear and I could feel your concern and I could feel, you know what I mean? And it's very difficult to operate under those conditions, right? So what do I do? What did I do? Do you remember what I did, Fran? Do you remember? I said, can you do this? And I went for the physiology. Can you sit up straight? Can you do this? Just shake it up. Can you do this? And that was that little foothold in the door that we could then grow into a state change, right? Because I had nowhere to go. I was also worried and panicking, right? So the only way I know to reset it is, okay, I got to change my body position. Because if I'm like this and I'm like, oh shit, she's panicking. What the fuck? Oh my God. Now I'm panicking, right? So I got to change mine. And if I get you to mirror me, then we're both going to be on that track. You know what I mean? And that was the first foot in the door. You guys, I'll definitely dig it up and I'll send it to you guys, right? You guys can watch it for sure. Right?
And I love that you brought that up, because immediately what came to mind is whatever it takes. Sometimes that state change can be so profound, or it can be something as simple as one of these. A dear friend of mine sent me one of these things. And if you don't know what it is, I don't know if you can read that. See if it'll come in focus, but I can give you a demonstration. Oh my, for state change. When people are just, don't get like,
in case of emergency button.
And yes, absolutely.
Oh, dude.
And I use it all the time.
I used to have the toilet flushing app on my phone where you shake the phone
Yep.
and it flushes the toilet. And I used to use, when we do magic frame, when people go, oh, it goes over your head and it goes into the past, and you do that. Now you used to do the nail gun, nailed into the past. I used to do over your head, way, way off into the distance, hear the sound of a toilet flush, and I would shake my phone behind the head and they would hear a toilet flush. And almost everybody just burst into laughter. And I would give the suggestion, notice how it feels as that shit goes away. Literally. And they have this image in their mind of the shit and the toilet and it's going away. And then there's like almost everyone goes, but they're laughing. And here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. It might sound overly simple, but when someone's laughing, they're not upset. Whatever it takes, if you can get the person to crack up, whatever it takes, worth, totally worth. Make the silliest face and the blah, 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 whatever you got to do. If you can make them laugh, it's totally, totally worth.
And Savo asked me to be a guest on his webinar last Thursday again. And one of the things that I brought up is good hypnosis is good theater. The more you can get them to experience, see, feel, smell, all the things that good movies, good productions, all that stuff does is good hypnosis. And we're doing it with a certain outcome to help them with whatever challenges it may be, to get some of the less than positive programs off the hard drive and replace them with better programs. However, whatever it takes to get whatever metaphors, analogies it takes for them to be able to do it, to get the change they're looking for. And sometimes the changes they didn't even know they wanted or needed, because it shows up along the way. And having the experience to recognize, oh, what was that? Well, nothing. No, what was that? And going in after it, because we are agents of change. And while we were talking, or while you guys were going through some stuff, I remembered that I had come across some really good quotes. Are you guys open for closing off the night with some of the quotes that I happened to run across? One is, the past is a guidepost, not a hitching post, by L. Thomas Holdcraft. Again, the past is a guidepost, not a hitching post. L. Thomas Holdcraft. Here's another one. Listen to your dreams. Those are the sounds no one else can hear. Kobe Yamada. Once again, listen to your dreams. Those are the sounds no one else can hear. Kobe Yamada. Here's one from Anonymous. Anonymous writes a lot of these. He who asks a question may be a fool for 5 minutes, but he who never asks a question remains a fool forever. Which is why I always encourage asking questions. And for my wait to date protocol, this one I thought was quite profound. Don't rush into any kind of relationship. Work on yourself, feel yourself, experience yourself, and love yourself. Do this first, and you will soon attract that special loving other. By Russ von Holscher. I'll read it again. Don't rush into any kind of relationship. Work on yourself, feel yourself, experience yourself, and love yourself. Do this first, and you will soon attract that special loving other. Guys, want a couple more? We got 1 minute left. Only one thing has to change for us to know happiness in our lives, where we focus our attention. The good news is that we can choose. By Greg Anderson. Again, only one thing has to change for us to know happiness in our lives, where we focus our attention. The good news is that we can choose. And the last one before we say our goodbyes, you cannot help men permanently by doing for them what they could do and should do for themselves. Abraham Lincoln. Again, you cannot help men permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves.
Could I just share something exciting that's happening to me this coming weekend?
Please, of course.
I had a pottery teacher more than 30 years ago who's world-class potter, and I discovered he's holding a workshop 500 kilometers away from me, but I thought, why not? And it's inspired me to enroll in this workshop and get my potter's wheel out and get being arty again. And it's frustrating that my skill level isn't where it was, but I'm getting there. And I'm so looking forward to this and reacquainting with somebody that I haven't seen for more than 30 years. So I might be his worst nightmare coming back to haunt him, but it'll be funny.
You're spectacular, Fran.
I am so excited.
I'm absolutely looking forward to hearing all about it and seeing some of your creations. And with that, unfortunately, out of respect for our time, because I will always say, and you'll hear it all the time is the one thing that I cannot give back to you. And so for you guys to once again take your prime commodity, your time, and share it on this platform means so much to me, and I appreciate each and every one of you. For those of you watching live on YouTube, love you, Mom. For those of you watching the recording, thank you for your time as well. Again, please share these with anybody and everybody. You never know who wants to, needs to, didn't know they needed to hear something off of one of these recordings. And I pray that what we created here can give somebody the change they wanted, needed, or at least get them to reach out to one of us. Please, if there's any questions that you have, put them in the comments, reach out to us. We just want to help. That question you asked, Lenora, what should people know about? I just love helping people. It's just who I am. So, until next time, thank you. See you guys back here in 7 days, same bat time, same bat channel. Now go out into the world, be agents of change, and be nice to each other.
One more fart now. One more fart push. Maybe 3 more. Thank you.
You guys are awesome.
Bottom humor is always good.